Yes, all right. We are getting ready to go live. Okay. And we're live, John.
Great. Welcome, everyone, to Meet the Candidate Night. This year, we're going to do things a little bit different. To have some time to hear from our wonderful candidates, we're going to skip the bios. Rather than me reading them to you, you can find them on our website, on the school's website. They were also just sent home as well in the DA newsletter. And today, for the people out here, it's inside the pamphlet as well. So tonight, we are going to hear, like I said, from each candidate. Thank you all for taking your time to join us tonight for this event. We are going to be covering, like I said, 4 to 5 questions. Each one of these questions was developed by our community, the speech and debate team, and my US history class. So we get to hear a little bit from the students as well. Each candidate will be given an opportunity to speak, and we will also rotate who gets to speak first. I will also provide signals as we go through each one of the questions. For example, I'll give you a 1 for 1 minute. That means you have 1 minute left. A C for 30 seconds. That means you have 30 seconds left. And a closed fist for please finish your sentence. Does not mean that I'm going to run over there with the fist. After you complete this set of questions, each candidate will have 2 minutes. So after we finish our 4 or 5 questions, depending on time, each candidate, like I said, will have 2 minutes for closing statements. Okay, great. So starting right with a community question, we're going to start with Mrs. Neumann. What specific skills or attributes do you have that make you a valuable to the board?
Well, I feel like my job experience, I've been in banking for 30 plus years. And I think everything that I've done there, I've been in HR, I've worked in the branches, I work with the branches, I work with a lot of policy, procedure, training, and some HR type things. So I feel like that, plus the experience that I've had with the 9 years that I've been on the board, I think all those things combined are really beneficial.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Wilson, same question. What specific skills or attributes do you have that make you a valuable member to the board?
Mr. Gray, thank you. I want to give a shout out since we are live streaming, and I'm sure your kids are probably tuned in. Mr. Brannigan, Issa, and Luke Pringle, who weren't here tonight to do the bios, which would have been great. I always enjoyed them.
Yes, thank you.
So thank you for the question. I think the best attribute that I have is being in the community for the last 14 years. You know, it's interesting as you walk down the streets, as you're up here during school events, the school is always a topic of discussion. And, you know, listening to the community, listening to the children, our kids in the district, listening to faculty and staff in the district, I think just allowed me to, you know, I enjoy information. And I love asking hard questions and receiving hard questions. And I think it's just valuable to be a part of the community and sit up here tonight and run for the Board of Education. So I do appreciate the opportunity, and that's it. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Mrs. Raba, same question. What specific skill or attributes do you have that make you a valuable member to the Board of Education?
Well, I'm a good listener. I'm a team player. I believe that I have the ability to recognize the needs and challenges that our students face, that our teachers face, that our staff and community face, and I would love to be able to implement those skills by being a Board of Education member. I have my Master's in Science of Education, Master's of Science in Education, and I was certified to be a K-12 school counselor, so I've worked with many teachers, community members. I have great counseling skills. I love to collaborate with people and consult with people. I feel very resourceful, and I think that I'm a team player, and I have a lot of job experience in running my own business and my husband's business, so I think that all of these skills will help me be an effective board member.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, this next question is for you. What do you see as the board members' roles and responsibilities?
I think, can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yeah. What do you see as the board's roles and responsibilities for our community? And the school?
Yeah, our role as a board member, I think, is to really, I mean, obviously it's to educate our kids. I mean, I think our role here at the school, that's what we do. I just feel that, I'm sorry. Can you?
Yeah, I can say the question again. So what do you see as the responsibility of and the roles of the Board of Education?
Yeah, well, as a board member being here for the last 9 years, I think my role was to really just listen to the community, you know, be a part of the kids' lives. I enjoy being up here, up at the district a lot. And I'm really sorry.
Well, that was great.
I thank you.
Perfect. So Mrs. Raba, what do you see as the board's roles and responsibilities?
I think it's really,
So I think it's really important to maintain a budget that maintains and upholds all of the educational experiences our children have. I think it's important to be a really good listener, a team player, and to also kind of act as a bridge between the community and the teachers and the staff, and to just make decisions in taking everybody's opinions and considerations into consideration and moving forward with what's best for our student body and our community.
Great. Thank you. Mrs. Neumann, what do you see as the board's roles and responsibilities?
Our roles and responsibilities, we are working very closely with our superintendent to guide the district. We also, as Lauren mentioned, responsible for producing a budget that is fiscally responsible, yet still accomplishes all of the things that we are looking to accomplish in the year. Policy and procedure is a big part of what the board is responsible for as well. I do sit on the policy committee. I've been on that committee since I started it. I think because I was the only one that actually read the whole entire policy manual. So we are responsible. That's a big part of what we do as well. It covers a lot of how we manage what we do up here, and so yeah, I would say those are our main functions.
Awesome. Thank you. Mrs. Raba, you get the question first this time. Let me reset my clock here. How important are standardized tests to achieving academic growth? How important are standardized tests to achieving academic growth?
Well, I think they're extremely important because they're measuring our student body's achievement, and based on that achievement, they can qualify for certain things like academic intervention services or response to intervention. So I think it's really important that those tests happen so that we can flag in kids who really need extra help, and we can also just recognize their needs a little bit more. I think standardized tests give us a good baseline to learning and where our students are achieving. And I think they're great practice for college and getting students prepared for test taking and measuring their abilities.
Thank you. Mrs. Neumann, how important are standardized tests to achieving academic growth?
I feel like they're important, but they're just a part of the process. I don't feel like everything should be based on the results of standardized tests. There is a lot of information that can come out of those, but it's not the end-all be-all. The teachers and their gut instincts and their familiarity and the comfort that they have with the students and the communication that they have between themselves, I think is just as important or even more so. But yeah, they do play a part, but it's not the whole package.
Awesome. Thank you. Mr. Wilson,
Yeah,
how
thank you.
important are standardized tests to achieving academic growth?
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a part of the process. It's days versus months being a student within the district. I think it's a gauge for the kids, gauge for the teachers of just how, maybe they're aligning their curriculum as far as, how well their kids may be doing a class or on a test or something like that. So I think it's all part of that process for a child in the district, but I think it's just, kind of a small snapshot into what student success is all about. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. So Mrs. Neumann, this is for you again. What motivates you to want to become a board member?
Well, my motivation is I want to be able to continue what I've been a part of for this time. Since I've been on the board here at DA, I've seen a lot of change. I've seen a lot of progress. I've seen a lot of really good things. I love the energy and the enthusiasm that's here at this school. I love the fact that we continually want to be the beacon in the community and in the state, that we want other people to look to us and ask us, hey, I love what you're doing, how did you make that happen? Or, this is what we want to do. I know you guys have done a lot of these things. It's a positive atmosphere. There's a lot of really exciting things going on, and I just don't feel like my work is finished here.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, what motivates you to want to become a board member?
Well, I guess I'm a motivated person, and I really enjoy volunteering and giving up my time. And it's something that's important to me, even with my own children. We spend a lot of time volunteering for people that are in need. And so to be here in the district and volunteering my time for what I believe to be the future of this community, as we look out in here and people that are live streaming, there's a lot of people that are here and they're within this community and they're here because they want to be here. And it's an honor to be up here and running for the Board of Education to give back to a district and a community that's been just excellent to me and my family.
Awesome. Thank you. Mrs. Raba, what motivates you to want to become a board member?
What motivates me to become a board member are our students in our community, my own children, my friends' children. I think that they are the light of our future, and they come to school to be loved and they feel safe. And I think that when you come to this school and you're loved and you feel safe, that it really instills a love for learning in them. And I really want to be part of what instills that love for learning for them. And I want them to go into society and the community and be productive members. And I hope that I can contribute to that in a positive way.
Awesome. Thank you. So connecting to our community, Mr. Wilson, what is your vision for education in this community? What is your vision for education in this community?
Vision,
Like a vision statement. What's your trajectory? What do you want our school to achieve? I think is the question.
I think continued excellence, you know, from a ranking standpoint, our district has been on the high end of not only New York State, but the nation. And I think it's just, you know, I'm a student experience guy. You know, for me, it's all about everything. And, you know, maybe there's a co-curricular question coming up, but, you know, this school is, you know, it's the whole package. Through different events, I have the opportunity to travel to other schools, and I'm always amazed at what we do offer our students, and what we continue to offer our students, even in tough times. I know in the past years, and even with COVID, there's been, you know, things that have been on the radar, and I just really appreciate that the district is forced forward and really focused on, you know, student success here. And, you know, I just want the community to know that, you know, it doesn't change. You know, this is a great school and a great community.
Thank you. Mrs. Raba, what is your vision for education in this community?
My vision for education in this community would be to maintain the level of excellence that Delaware Academy has maintained for a very long time, and to see all of the clubs and activities and sports and academic, you know, achievements and science fairs, to see all of that happen again in the safest possible way, because it's really important for the mental health of our students and also our community to support those things. So my vision is to, you know, maintain that level of academic excellence, one that motivates our students to seek, you know, careers that are meant for them, and one that supports their emotional and social growth. And I hope to implement that vision with all of you.
Thank you. Mrs. Neumann, what is your vision for education in our community?
Obviously, maintaining the academic standards that we have been able to achieve up to this point is important. I like the fact that we focus on all of the kids and preparing each student to be the best that they can be once they leave Delaware Academy. That might be, excuse me, that might be going off to college, that might be joining the workforce. And I honestly can say the last few years, we've had a number of students joining the military, and I think that's fabulous. And we've got programs in place to help the kids decide what's the best path for them, and then to continue to do the things that, you know, we need to do to put them on that path. And it's part of that, and it's something that we've really been trying to focus on here in the last couple of years, is attracting and retaining quality teachers to help us get those kids on the path that they need to be. And to continue to work with our community to put internships, partnerships, and those types of things into place to help the kids as well.
Thank you. I believe the next question is Mrs. Rabbit, right? Okay. Thank you for helping me keep track. So Mrs. Rabbit, what are some of the major issues that you believe our school district is currently facing, and how could they be addressed?
I think they're facing a plethora of issues right now, given our current pandemic and situation. And I think they're doing a great job at, you know, managing, I guess, opinions and complaints and from all ends of the spectrum, from all parts of the community. I think it's very challenging to be in this, you know, political world when you're faced with, you know, millions or hundreds of different opinions that you have to address very, you know, professionally and tactfully. And So I think that we face a ton of issues, and I think the ripple effect of all of what's happening now is that our kids are really going to be faced with a lot of mental health issues, so we have to react in a lot of ways to support them and their families.
Great, thank you. Mrs. Neumann, what are some of the major issues that you believe our school district is currently facing, and how could they be addressed?
Well, one of the issues is the unpredictability of the funding that the schools are going to receive. And I'll give a shout out to Mr. Schultz at this point. He's done a great job guiding our district. And I think we'll continue along those lines. Thank you, Mr. Schultz. And as Lauren mentioned, I think the mental health of our students is a big issue. We've taken steps. We've brought on an additional counselor this last school year, and I think we've had some benefits there. But it's going to be a struggle, I think, acclimating back to our old normal when school starts again in the fall. And it's going to be a challenge for everybody, but knowing how we faced the challenges that we had coming into this year, I think we'll do a great job with that.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, what are some major issues that you believe our school district is currently facing, and how could they be addressed?
So the word that comes to mind for me is normalcy. I feel over the last March, the kids were gonna maybe go home for a weekend or a week, and that was the end of their school year. And I think, as we're all in uncharted territory, I think the kids just really are looking forward to normalcy. Kids going back to school full-time this past week, they were looking forward to it. I didn't talk to one child that was not looking forward to coming back to school, to see their friends. With still social distancing and wearing masks, and I just really look forward to those steps that we're taking to create some routine for the children. So I think that's one of the biggest obstacles, I guess, that we face at this point is just getting back to the normalcy for the kids. Thanks.
Wonderful, thank you. And I believe Mrs. Neumann, this question is for you. How can the board be accessible to the community, or how could the board make themselves accessible to the community?
Well, I think by just being present in the community, being at school functions, whether it's, the school play or the, athletic events that we have. I did have the pleasure of working one of the speech and debate tournaments one year, and, just being involved, being present, doing stuff within the community, do your shopping at Price Chopper and Ace Hardware and having lunch at Luby, or, just being out and about and present, and, I feel I'm approachable, and be happy to talk to anybody.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, how can the board be accessible to the community?
Great question. It's something that was important to me, especially when I became president of the Board of Education, my last 2 years on the board. I felt the need to really spend a lot of time downtown, if you will, at events. I went to, it seemed like every event that was possible up here to try to, talk to the community members, talk to parents. I thought it was really important to make sure that, our community knew that their money was being invested well as far as our children and things like that. And it was important to me. And I spent a lot of time setting up meetings and going to the diner and Crossroads and all the restaurants downtown to spend time with people, to ask them questions and to, give them information. I know at one time we talked a little bit about having kind of a community type roundtable just to give people information so they could take them back to their local communities and talk about what we were doing up here. But it is a really good question and something that's probably going to be asked for a long time. So thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Raba, same question. How can the board be accessible to the community?
You guys said it all, but I think it's extremely important to put ourselves out there, to attend school functions, our local farmers market, shop local, buy local, listen to people when our children's friends come over, ask them questions about their education, teachers, and just let them know that you're there for them. I think it's important to recognize the needs in the community, and just let them know that you're an open ear and, listen to them with an open mind, and really just, letting them know what you do and that I love education and I'm here to serve the community and our students.
Fantastic. Thank you. I wish we could vote for all three of you. Just for information for the community, 2 members will, you can vote for 2 seats in the upcoming Board of Elections, coming up on May 18th. The elections take place from noon till 8 p.m. As we have a couple seconds here, we're going to move into our closing comments. Mr. Wilson, you're going to speak first. We have 2 minutes for closing comments. Same thing, I'll give you the 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then a close for the final sentence. So whenever you're ready, so if you need a second or two, Mr. Wilson, whenever you're ready, I'll start the clock.
So first, I obviously would like to apologize for my little hiccup. I just turned 50 a little while ago, and apparently it's either that or the vaccination that I took. But I do apologize for that. I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be. But believe it or not, I couldn't imagine being anywhere else than where I am right now. I'm glad to be up here. I'm proud to be up here. I'm proud as Tammy to serve 9 years, 3 terms on the board. It's something that I am passionate about, and I really enjoy what I do. It's not perfect. Will somebody be up here in 100 years from now probably saying there's more to do, because there's always going to be more to do. I really enjoyed it. The other thing I want to do, because I don't get this kind of an opportunity to sit up here and be live streamed, I'm not on much social media, but I do really want to thank our faculty and staff, administration, Board of Education, and also our students. There's 1,000 people up here all working towards one goal, either being educated or educating. And I was able to sit in on some classroom time with my kids, and there was teachers that broke out the guitar and strummed some songs as they taught the class. There was some teachers that took 30 seconds because they probably needed 10 minutes to collect things as kids were asking questions. But I can't be more proud of the district and what they did, especially for my kids over this past year. And I just really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Raba, 2 minutes for final statement.
Well, I love our community. I was raised here. And both my husband and I graduated from Delaware Academy. We have a middle and high school student here. We love the education and the support that this school provides for our children. We love that they come here to feel loved and safe, and they're just so curious about so many things. And this school really has my heart. And I'm at a point in my life where it's more important for me to give back to the community than to receive. And I think I'm in a unique position to do that, and advocate for our kids and public education.
Thank you. Mrs. Neumann, 2 minutes for final comments.
Well, I feel like, as I said previously, the experience that I've had being on the board thus far really is an important consideration. And I feel I'm a problem solver by nature. It's basically what I do all day long, every day. And I approach it with a calm and rational mindset, which I've been told many times is very much appreciated by the people that I'm helping. And I want to be able to continue that, and I think that I've got the tools that make me an effective board member. The other thing that I'd like to mention is that being on the Board of Education is a commitment, and I don't think a lot of people really realize the time that's involved. It's not showing up once a month for 2 or 3 hours for a meeting. There's a lot of committees and functions and budget time. I think the month of March or April, we meet every Monday for hours at a time. Capital project. So I understand the commitment that's involved. I've experienced it and lived it over the last 9 years, and I'm perfectly happy to continue that commitment and keep it going. Thank you.
Thank you. So that concludes Meet the Candidate Night. Before we leave though, in the pamphlet, I just want to bring everybody's attention. I made a mistake. I made a little typo. It's not N-E-W, it's N-E-U-A, right? N-E-U, yeah. I mispronounced, I misspelled new. So that's only for you guys. People at home don't know that. But thank you so much for coming. You guys did an outstanding job. Please, we're going to take a break now for our budget hearing that is coming up next.
porch?
Advisory tonight.
No, they've been in my garage. I put.
All right, all right, everyone, I'd like to open the meeting now, and we're gonna start with the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is behind the plant.
I got 9 asking. They're in the garage.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If it's a nice day out, I'll haul them out.
All right, welcome to our budget presentation. Mr. Schultz, would you please take it away?
Sure. First and foremost, I want to thank those that are here, those that have to be here, and those that are actually live streaming. So if I do put you to sleep, I apologize. I was told today that
Here it comes.
my presentations may not be that exciting, so, and I said, you know what, they were never meant to be. There's a budget here.
That's
so
true.
Not much, I've done, been in this for 16 years, I've done 13 budget hearings. The only reason I didn't do the other 3 is because I went to a district where they had already done the budget, where I called it, don't blame me. So it's my 13th, and they're never really easy. I was thinking over the weekend, I should have started a journal 15, 16 years ago on the amount of, I wouldn't say stress, but just the back and forth that happens with the budget, and as far as trying to put together a budget, try to guess what's gonna happen, try to guess your expenses, and every one of them has really kind of been different. Last year was amazing, it was difficult, it was I don't know, we didn't know a lot of stuff. We went into this budget not knowing a lot either. So, but it always ends up kind of funneling down to everything's gonna be okay, we'll make it through, and but that's due to a lot of work by the Board of Education, administration, and the faculty. So I do appreciate all the hard work that's gone into all of this, so thank you very much. Start off with our vision and mission statement. I'm not going to read this word for word, but it's a good start. Thank you, Kelly, to start this off as far as what our goals are. And this is kind of something that I don't know verbatim, but I know basically it's exactly what we all try to strive for on a daily basis. And I know the board is aligned, and I'm glad we kind of set this and recalibrated this year. The one I know much better, of course, is budget development. One of the biggest ones I kind of always go back to is creating a budget that's fiscally responsible for the taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer also, so I know that how much what I put into my tax payment I wish to get back out of where my son is going to school. So I know that you all expect the same. And I think that that's a big thing. That's taking into account a lot of different factors. Whether it be salaries, contracts, materials, supplies, heat, maintenance of the building, transportation. There are many, many factors that go back and forth with budget development. You may know all those expenses, but the other side of it is the revenue. That's the problem that we have probably every year, where it's kind of a guessing game at some point. You're waiting to see what the state has, what they're willing to give up, and then try to match it up with what your dreams and expectations are. The budget hearing, really, I kind of went backwards this year too when I started to build a budget. I wanted to go back and try to remember, I do this every day, so I find it, my wife probably gets really mad at me when she brings something up and I say, oh, no, it's this, it's that. She doesn't know that. And a lot of people don't know what it's like to build a budget for a school district. It's much different than a factory or a warehouse or a company. We don't have widgets, we don't create widgets, we can't stop the production line mid-year, we can't introduce a new product mid-year. What we try to do is make sure that we have a goal from the beginning of the first day till the end. And that budget is to align all of that in the same place. So that's basically what I'll start with. So I wanted to go back to basics. So I'm not trying to be really childish about this, but basically a budget for a school district, like I said, it's very different than a corporation. We're not looking to maximize profits or revenues. We're looking to have a revenue that matches the expenditure. Every budget's revenues has to match expenditures, has to be a balanced budget. So as we build our expenditure side, we're hoping that those revenue sides are gonna come in and match up, and if not, then we have to go back and cut expenses or try to find more revenue somewhere else. Tax cap was introduced, should I know this, probably about 10 years ago or so. And it was put in place for taxpayers to make sure that districts weren't going way above and I would say, taking advantage of other taxpayers. So one of the things that the state set up was a 2% tax cap. You've probably heard it a million times. It's never, I don't think I've ever built a budget on a 2% tax cap. I've always built it on basically a little less than that. Not because I want to, but because the way the formula works out. The district is obligated when they set the tax cap to not exceed a certain limit. It's all based upon a formula. It's about an 8-step formula that actually kind of pulls that tax cap in and then gives you a final amount that you cannot exceed. Our tax cap this year, we usually run around probably 1.5 to a little over 2%. We've always stayed below 2 though when we do our tax levy. But this year it's 1.6%. So we're much lower than the 2%. A lot of districts are around 1.7, 1.8, or a little above 1. A simple majority vote is needed. That's 50% plus 1 to pass it. If we were to go above the 1.6%, we need what's called a supermajority, which is a 60% vote. Done those before, they're not fun. We're not asking you to do that this year. So, quick revenue analysis. Taxes and state aid make up a little over 90% of the budget. That's not uncommon. Districts in this area, districts in most of New York State, you get downstate a little bit more, you see that that is a little different. Maybe districts like Saratoga or higher wealth district, you see where state aid is probably closer to the 30% range. We're in the 40%, 40 plus. So state aid taxes, that makes up the majority of the budget. Pilot revenue, which is payment in lieu of taxes. Those are agreements with local corporations through the IDA. They set up shop here in any town or village. They may pay a reduced tax for a period of time, but that's an agreement and there's between the IDA, the school district, and the town. We get cash payments, we get our tax payments from those corporations. And then after a certain amount of time, whatever the agreement is, those corporations go on what's called the tax roll. So pilot revenue, we've been around probably 50 to 60,000 for quite a few years. We're up above 200,000 at this point. The nursing home has one that has a pretty large contract right now. And that'll run for about 10 years. Other is interfund transfers. Those are transfers between other funds. We're voting on what's called the general fund. The taxpayers will be voting on it. And then we have capital fund, cafeteria fund, things like that. There may be small interfund transfers of cash between the two, not much. Reserves make up a pretty large part of it too. Actually, our reserves we're using right now for this coming budget is around 260,000. Reserves are made up of basically savings from previous year. And I'll jump to fund balance is the same thing. Reserves are basically savings accounts that districts can set aside and put money into for certain purposes. They're not rainy day funds. They're selected for certain amount or certain functions, whether it be workers' comp claim, whether it be TRS or ERS claims that go up. You have that pot of money to pull from, and it doesn't make your budget fluctuate as much in a year. So if you put away $500,000 to a reserve and you have to dip into it, you're not affecting that tax levy or the budget in any manner. Fund balance. This district each year has savings from the previous year. Whatever savings we do have, either we allocate it to reserves or we reallocate it to fund balance. And that fund balance, we're allowed to keep a certain amount, and the other amount we apply back to the budget to reduce taxes. So what a lot of taxpayers don't know is within the budget, we have money from previous year that's making sure that tax levy stays at the level that we want it to or that the court approved. Revenue breakdown, I was talking earlier, just taxes and state aid alone, well over 90%, a little over 90. Pilot revenue makes up about 1%. Fund balance and reserves and the other funds make up the rest. So the great thing about it is that we don't have to find much money in other areas. The bad news about it is that if state aid comes in really low, it really has a huge impact on this district. And that's what we went into this budget year. When we left a year ago, it was about less than that because it was in June, we had no idea what was going to happen with revenue. The district, or the state was projecting an $8.5 billion shortfall going into this year. And they talked about 20% aid cuts. We talked about it many times, 20% aid cuts would devastate this district, would devastate any district, to be honest. Did they do that? They did. They started to in the summer. They started to make some cuts to aid payments, and then they backed off. I think they realized at that point it wasn't going to work well, and they were going to see a lot more turmoil than they were just with the pandemic. So that stopped. I think they also started to see, at least the state started to see tax revenues not as bad as they originally had anticipated. Stock market stayed strong. Yes, businesses were closed. I mean, some are still closed. But they actually did a little bit better than they expected. Plus, you started to see stimulus funding come through. We had GEARS, and it was called GEARS, and ESSER. Just acronyms for government stimulus funds. We got about $287,000 coming into this budget year. And then there was a lot of talk about another stimulus fund that just came through in the Biden administration. We'll go through that in a minute. One of the things that we wait on each year, on January, we have state aid runs. When state aid runs come out, we usually get about 2 or 3, what they call 2 or 3 runs. First run's always the cheapest. It's the, this is all I have in my pocket, here you go, you're gonna have to live with this. We got that, believe me. What we saw when we got the first set of aid runs, of course, there was no additional stimulus at that point. We saw about a 6 point, actually foundation aid, which is the largest part of any school district aid package, stayed flat. There was no increase whatsoever. We saw no other increases really across the board. We saw, in general, we saw about a $25,000 increase. That's what we saw from one year to the next. Very little. So we started the process of building a budget with those numbers in hope that there would be more. I will say, point out real quick, BOCES aid, a lot of these aids, besides foundation aid, that is, the other aids are based upon what are called categorical aids. The more we spend, for instance, in transportation, the more we get back in the next year. Same thing with BOCES. We stay conservative with those estimates because when we're trying to build a budget, we're building the budget, and we start in November. We start really kind of early groundwork in November, December. Like Mrs. Neumann was saying, we meet, I think it's February when we really first meet, maybe at the end of February. We still have that loose change in your pocket numbers. So we're working off of that. So we try to be as conservative as possible. We don't know at that point, especially this year and last year, what we were going to spend in transportation, or were we going to cut BOCES, or were we going to close the school, what was the pandemic going to do? So we always try to be very conservative with those categorical aids and not go right up to the limit. If we get more, we spend more and get more, fantastic. So if you see that the numbers really don't fluctuate that much, they don't, because we didn't add any new runs to transportation. We added very little services to BOCES, but enough to generate some more aid. Budget summary real quick. This is on the expense side. Not a lot of big changes. You'll see a few, 1200 code and 1300 code that basically flip with a negative 14.6%. Then the next line is a positive, almost 13.75. We just recoded an expense from one line to the next. The other line that stands out, which is not it's a 14 code, it's a staffing. We contract with BOCES for additional services such as safety and risk management. We do English as a second language, things like that. So we may, if we don't need somebody for 5 days a week, we can contract with BOCES for 1 to 2 or 3 or 4, and then get aid on that amount. We ended up bringing in a public relations specialist to help with website and Twitter and Facebook and social media and things like that. So that really jumped up that budget. It's not significant. I mean, it's a $72,000 increase. We get about 40% back in aid. It's something the district, I don't know if it's had in the past, but not in the last 6 years that I've been here have we had anything like that. But with the way things are moving, it is a digital world, so that'll come in handy. The rest of the increases or decreases were really basically contractual. We have multiple contracts for all the staff here, whether it be administration or maintenance or teaching. Those all have contractual increases each year, along with supplies and materials going up. That's a normal thing that happens each year. It happens here, happens in your household, so no different. A little increase on debt service, about 3.4%. That is strictly associated with the capital project that is underway currently. We don't go out right away and borrow all the money up front. We take short-term notes, which are called bands, bond anticipation note. And so that you have to pay interest on that, which is also, the interest is aidable at about 73%. So we'll get some numbers. So as I started back with this balanced budget, we have expenses at $21,048,000, proposed revenues, same amount, balanced budget. About 2.04% increase. Another way of looking at kind of our expenses, the way they're broken down, just like any other, I was trying to compare ourselves, not to compare ourselves to a factory or warehouse or something like that. With any kind of business, you're talking about labor and benefits make up a major, major part of your budget. This is no different. We're talking about healthcare, salaries, things like that, pretty high. I mean, just the instructional side that takes into account everything though, as far as in the instructional. So it takes in salaries and benefits, or not benefits, but supplies and materials. That's at 45%. So almost 45% of the budget is just on instructional. General support, about 9%. That would be staffing, office staffing, and support staffing. Debt service, 1.6 million. Debt service is basically the debt that we have on all the projects that we've previously done. There's about 3 projects that are still on the books. They go on for about 15 years. That's how long you go out to debt for or bond it for. You'll have a little bit dropping off in a few years, and then we'll have another piece coming back on. So we basically kind of keep it at that level, about 1.6 million. Benefits make up a little over $5 million here. That is ERS, TRS, which is Employee Retirement System, Teachers Retirement System, and then healthcare, both for retirees and actives. Luckily, our healthcare consortium that we have here, we have not seen any increases in the last couple of years, which is absolutely unheard of. It's managed very, very well. Not by me or anyone else in this room, but a consortium called KSBP, which has been kind of an affiliate of BOCES. There are about 18 component districts involved, and they do an amazing job at really kind of managing this plan. TRS, ERS, managed by the state of New York. That's dependent upon the market. We're seeing numbers right now for TRS, so it's about 10% of salaries we have to give back to the state for retirement for our staff. ERS is around 12%. Transportation is about 1.1 million, a little over, almost 1.2. And then building and maintenance about 1.5 million. This budget today, basically some of the changes that we're seeing and some of the stuff we've implemented into the budget, like I talked earlier, contractual salary increases, part of the contract. ERS, TRS, those have gone up. They haven't gone up significantly. Like I said, with the market staying relatively stable in the last, probably year at this point, which is surprising. It has not moved that needle much. TRS moved maybe about 0.5 percentage point, and that was about it from one year to the next. What happens too, when the market does drop or start to slip a little bit, you usually don't see that impact for at least another 16 months. So, but we haven't seen anything, which is fantastic. This is, a lot of people, we've talked a lot about the early budget development, about how we were expecting state aid cuts to possibly mirror what we saw back in 2008, 2009. The difference in 2008, 2009, we were in a recession. We were in a recession now. The market had tanked back then. The market is still strong now. So we're not getting that double whammy we did 12 years ago. Some of the things the board talked about and the administration talked about to add to this budget was, going forward was the summer driver's ed program. We used to, a couple of years ago, have somebody full in-house 10 months. It was a regular class, became very difficult with scheduling, so we decided to pull that back and do a summer program. Plus, we couldn't really do anything this year because of COVID, we still really can't do much because of COVID. We can still have classroom 3 feet apart. And then I think they're still allowing parents to clock their hours. Am I
Yes,
correct?
yeah, that's a New York State DMV requirement.
So we will implement that this summer. We have a new middle school special ed program that we're looking to implement, a 611 program that's 6 students to every teacher, 1 teacher and 1 aide. There's an LTA position in the elementary. It was always kind of there, we just didn't fill it this year, I'm sorry. We're refilling it going into next year. We have a fleet of not only buses, but we also have vans for short trips or just 1 or 2 students. We currently have a fleet of 4. 1 is aging out, so we're rotating it out and bringing another van in. Any kind of van purchase or bus purchase is aidable at about 55%. So 55 cents on the dollar we will get back for that purchase. It's over a 5-year span. Continued technology enhancements. Luke and his team are always on the ground running with new devices or any kind of new enhancements for the district or for the staff. So we will continue to fund that. And then professional development and curriculum supports. A lot of, we've ramped up a lot of the PD or professional development in the last year, especially last summer due to COVID, and we'll continue to do that over the summer also. Real quick snapshot, what we're kind of looking at now. I will say that these numbers are estimated numbers. What's kind of difficult to explain sometimes is that we have townships that are involved. It's just not Delaware. There's 7 different townships that are involved within the district. What we end up doing is we try to find an average tax levy increase. So we know that it's going to be 1.5% tax levy increase. We don't know the exact dollar. I don't know your home well enough, what kind of credits you get. Do you have STAR? Do you have enhanced STAR? So we try to take a guess at it. And so could be your equalization rate changes or your whatever happens. You may put an addition on. It may change your tax rate either way. Looking at probably the median household or home value in this area, the last time I checked was a couple of years ago, it was about $108,000. That's average. So for that, you're looking at a $22 increase per year or about $1.83 per month. You get to double that in 2000, you're looking at about $3.66 or a $44 increase. Usually this is a little higher than normal. So as far as the numbers we put up, it never usually amounts to that amount. It usually amounts to less than that. We do a check when we go into the fall, when tax bills go out, just to see how close we are to the mark. One big difference, so we talked about revenues, we talked about how this year was a little different. This year was build the budget, wait and see. And we waited, and January came out, and we don't have any money, good luck. We hung on with hope and saying, there's gotta be something else that comes through. We knew the federal government was talking about stimulus package. State, we knew at that point had no reserves left. We, as a district, have a very healthy reserve system here, so we started to look at those amounts of those pockets of money. Luckily, a few months ago, the American Rescue Plan came out, and just recently, probably in the last couple of weeks, that we started to see what that amounts to and what it's actually going to be used for. So, along with the rescue plan, the state came back with much higher numbers. They came back with their second set of aid runs. They didn't do a third, they only did 2, and they said, here you go, this is the best we can do. And that's where you see that $250,000 increase in state aid. That was enough to say, okay, great, we have that money to offset what we were going to plan for. We have reserves that we're going to apply to it and that amount of money. Then the American Rescue Plan came through. $1.85 million is what this district is slated to get up until 2024. I keep trying to get my years right, it's too far out. I'm lucky if I get a week out. 2024 sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. The issue with that money is, first, we really don't know yet on how to spend it. And not that we don't, believe me, I can find a way. We don't know how we're going to be told to spend it. A lot of it has to, from what I can tell right now, is about learning loss. Okay, so we need much more finer details before we can apply for that. You know, we'll apply for it, and we'll also try to figure out exactly how to use it appropriately. Some of it's for technology, some of it's for equipment, but just about probably 20 minutes before this meeting, they finally just sent out a little bit more information on exactly what pockets you can spend from and how it has to be spent, because it has to be tracked at the same time. So what the district did, what the board did, and myself, and we sat back in February, and every Monday, we put together a plan that actually says, listen, we know, we're pretty sure that the state is gonna cut in coming years. There's still billions of dollars in the hole. So by taking the 1.85 million, splitting it over a 3-year span, and using some of the reserves that we have, we can sustain the exact programs that we have right now, possibly add a few, but not change anything within the DA structure. So we have a plan that would actually go for 4 years, and using this funding and splitting it over, we're hoping that they will extend it out another year. There's a lot of talk that they will. And with that, we can actually take that and match it up with our reserves, the savings we already currently have, and sustain exactly what we have today. So that was probably the hardest part of this budget, is now trying to get that crystal ball. I always say this every year, trying to figure out how much fuel oil David is gonna use in this building. I don't know, I guess it's good, for next year is as good as mine, I have no idea. But we try to estimate for that. Try to estimate 3 to 4 years out to figure out what the state may do, or if there'll be another pandemic, or whatever, how it happens. So we have safety nets, and that's exactly what this board has done way before I got here, is build those safety nets, and they continue to do that. And I'm hopeful that we will make it through the storm, however long it goes. So, so this just kind of breaks out. It was broken, the rescue plan was broken out into 2 pieces, a $4 billion shot and $9 billion. The good thing about this is that they've said that 90% of it has to go to education, both pockets of money. So 13 million out of that, 90% of that has to go to education. It can't be filtered off somewhere else. Where the other 10% goes, I don't know yet. I have no idea. I've been told that. I don't think anyone has. So, recapping everything, budget's $21,048,618. The increase is about $422,000. Percentage increase in spending is 2.04%. Tax levy is 1.5%. That's the proposed tax levy. And our tax cap is 1.6. So we're under the tax cap. We can go out with just a simple majority. Budget vote is May 18th. It's in a different location this year. So it's actually located over across from the bus garage, that entrance right over there. I think the middle school gym lobby is what we're calling it. A better name. Not the athletic entrance, it's the one further down.
Near the technology wing.
Near the technology wing. It's on the ground floor, which makes it a little easier, especially with COVID. We don't have to, there's no students really moving back and forth through there, so we have that area roped off and it can be secure. There will be a chicken and biscuit dinner pickup, most important part of that budget vote.
That's true.
I
Girls basketball.
think the times, I'm not sure what the times are, we'll put it on the web.
3 to 8.
3 to 8, perfect. Again, noon to 8. 2 Board of Education seats, good luck to the 3 of you. Purchase of 1 van, we talk about reserves, we're establishing a repair reserve. It's just another small savings account where we can, if something happens throughout the year, a large ticket item, we can dip into that reserve and not have to cut into the budget. I'll give you a perfect example. Hot water heater, my house is probably $800. Here it's about $20,000. So we had a few of those go this year. The repair reserve would have been a fantastic thing to grab from. So we're going to establish that. Not with a lot of money, it's probably about $150,000. Another great thing about what's on the ballot is we have the addition of a student representative, which I've never been a part of in the 3 districts I've worked at, and I really look forward to this one. Non-voting, students are not allowed to, that student is also not allowed to be in executive session, but will sit at the table during regular session and be part of the decision making. This year we'll have myself or Kelly or someone else from the administration on hand at all times throughout the vote from noon to 8. Answering any questions you may have. absentee ballot applications must be received by the district clerk no later than May 11th. Right? All right, and if in person, that's if they want to be mailed, and if they, in person is the 17th. They can be picked up right at the district. We've been known to do it.
We've got the delivery system down.
That's all I have. Thank you again for your time, I appreciate it, and do you have any questions?
I don't know if this is, it is not. Do you want to add anything or? All right, so thank you very much. Phyllis, is this on? Yeah, there we go. I just want to encourage everyone to please come and vote on the 18th and to get your chicken and biscuit dinner. And definitely good luck to the 3 candidates. All 3 of you are wonderful, so we're a very lucky community that we have 3 people that are dedicated enough to want to run for our board. And I just wanted to tell everyone, thank you, Carrie and the administration and Mrs. Zimmerman for putting together a budget that is fiscally responsible, that is going to keep our students and our faculty and staff operating in the highest level we can, and also keeping our taxpayers in mind. It's been a rough year. We don't need higher tax bills, so I'm very appreciative that we were able to do that for our community. I'm going to open the floor if anyone else on the board would like to say anything about our budget vote coming up.
Budget newsletter will be coming home shortly.
Oh, and the budget newsletter, thank you, Mrs. Zimmerman. The budget newsletter, please check your mailboxes. It will be in there soon, so. And if anyone has anything else they want to add, please do, but otherwise, okay, we are adjourned. A motion, please. Thank you, Sean and Lucy. A second? All right, and we're done. So thank you very much, everyone.